Hello everyone, it's Jasmine and welcome to my stop on the Christmas in July video hop. I have got actually a two for today. I've got two cards with this technique I'm going to do. There is the kind of the first one, and then I did a second one because I missed some of the filming for the first one. So I decided to do a part two. So we're going to get started with some alcohol ink Yupo and some alcohol pearl inks. These are the same as your standard alcohol inks. They just have a mica shimmer to them. So they're called pearl. They're really pretty. But you can use them the same way that you use regular alcohol inks. So we're going to start out with some alcohol money solution on our Yupo. And then we're going to drop some inks. And we're going to just kind of move it around to see what we get. So I'm using 4 colors. I've got Villainous, which is purple. Intrigue, which is a dark fuchsia, Enchanted, if I could say that, a corally pink, and Celestial is a medium toned blue. So I really liked how these colored together, and I love doing these backgrounds. They're so much fun. The only problem with these is you can't make 2 of the same one. So if you find one or you create one that you just are in love with, you can use the same colors, but you're never going to get quite the same effect. So I've got some rose gold foil by Deco Foil, and I'm not sure what the trick to this is. I don't know if it's a certain amount of time to wait or not, but you don't want to wait until your ink is completely dry because the foil won't stick. So you got to kind of try to play with it while it's a little bit wet, it's a little bit tacky, and you can get some of the foil to stick randomly. So it gives a really cool effect. So I decided to try that out with this one, and I got some nice random patches that looked really pretty with the holiday themed card that I was kind of playing with in my head. I had an idea, but I wasn't sure I could kind of make it work, and I ended up really loving what I come up with at the end. So here is one of the panels. And I've got these Concord and 9th Snow Flurry dies. There's 2 dies in the set, but it actually cuts 4 pieces. So you kind of can make 2 cards if you want to with this. And so we're going to do a shaker, and we're also going to do a flat card. And so there are my pieces. And I've just kind of shown you what the different pieces look like if you decide to use the 2 dies together. And then I'm using the Snowflake Turnabout stamp, and we're going to use some alcohol lift ink on these, or on this panel. And with these turnabout stamps, the design is to turn it 90 degrees each turn, quarter turn, and then you kind of overlap, get the snowflake design. So I kind of did that with it, but I kind of did my own thing. I stamped it down, and then I would turn it and kind of adjust the paper to where I want the stamp to lift more ink away. So I didn't quite use it the way it's intended, but that just gives more versatility to the stamp in my opinion. So I've applied my alcohol lift ink. That's my cat in the background. He's a little bit excited because he's got a friend outside. So you stamp that down, and then you wait just a few seconds, like 10-15 seconds, and then you get either paper towel or a soft cloth, and you rub the surface, and wherever that alcohol ink laid down, it will remove the color. So it's kind of like almost like a bleaching effect. It's really cool. I really like this technique. It's one of my favorites. So we're revealing the stamped images, which is the snowflakes. This is one of my favorite parts of using this ink. So now we're going to build our shaker window. And so I've got some score tape on the back of this, and then I'm going to lay down my acetate panel. Now another thing I did that's a little bit different was I cut this panel to 4.5 by 5.5 versus 4.25 by 5.5. And that just gives you a little bit more room around your edges to apply your foam tape. And that just makes it a little bit easier because the die does cut almost a full 4 1/4, so you don't have a big margin for your foam tape to set. And the other tip I want to kind of give you is to, when you're trimming off long edges like this, use large scissors, not small snips, because it makes it smoother and you have less cutting. So it just gives a smoother finish to the edge if you use large scissors versus smaller snips. So I'm going to use these other panels to fit back in together so that I can get the proper spacing for this third snowflake in the middle here. And I'm going to apply some 1/8 inch wide score tape to the back, and that kind of fits just perfectly within the arms of the snowflake. And then to finish this panel off, before I go and add the foam tape, I'm going to use one of the stamps from the Turnabout stamp set, and it says, actually there's 2 of them there. It says, "Love You Snow Much." And they're 2 separate stamps, and I just put them together because I thought it sounded cool. And then I'm going to use my Misty to stamp that using Ink on 3 Blackout ink. It's a hybrid ink that I really enjoy using because it's versatile. You can use a bunch of different things. The other thing about stamping on Yupo is it's not paper, it's plastic. So Yupo does not absorb ink the same way paper does. So you're going to see that it looks a little bit smushy, if that's a word. It's not quite crisp. So I stamped it twice because it didn't quite get crisp enough on the first one. So it looks a little, I like how it looked, but it does look a little bit smushy. So this panel is a different panel, obviously, because that's where I kind of forgot to continue filming the rest of it on the first one. So this is a different panel, but the same technique, same color, same material, same everything. Just obviously it's really difficult to get 2 of the same panel. So I've got this one, and this is the panel that I learned to cut a little bit wider with. That first one is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This one is 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. And again, it just gives you a bigger margin around your edges to place that foam tape. If you're building a shaker. If you're not, you don't got to worry about it. So here is the shaker. And I've taken my 3M foam tape and I've doubled it up. So it's double thickness as it comes off the roll. And then I took my scissors and trimmed it into thirds. And I kind of went based on that margin of error I gave myself around the edges of the snowflake. And whenever I'm building shakers, I make sure I butt my edges up together so that they're flush and there's no gap in there. And you want to do that because if you're using anything like glitter or seed beads or anything tiny, it will escape. Ask me how I know. So it just kind of gives you insurance that your bits are not going to end up on your lap or on the floor or in the envelope or whatever. And then again, I took the foam tape and I trimmed it down to 1/8 inch wide, which is not the easiest thing, but if you use snips, it's easier. To give a little bit of support to the very middle of the snowflake. And now I'm adding my various shaker bits. And after I filled this and completed it, flipped it over, was shaking it, I think there's a little bit too much in here. So if I did this again, I would use a little bit less of my bits. And I'm using 4 different mixes from Little Things. I've got some super tiny iridescent stars, a gold mix, called Nautical Sparkle. It's dark blue and some purple and some white. And then I have some little snowflake sequins. So as you can see, there's a lot in there. And it's really pretty. It's just a little bit too much. I think if I used less, you would be able to see what is in there better. And then I'm backing that with some royal blue foil cardstock that I've cut to match. So 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. Focus. Okay. So there is that. And then I will finish that off with a couple of die cut sentiments just to make it super easy. And there's the 4 mixes I've used. And then moving back to the first version, what I've done here is I've taken a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panel of black cardstock, and I've put 2 layers of clear embossing powder on it just to give me that super thin, shiny matte border. Shiny matte. That's an oxymoron. Shiny black border. That's what I intended to say. And then I've got some rose gold glitter paper that I've die cut. I believe that die cuts down to like 4 1/8 by 5 1/4, I think. It's a funky size, but it turned out really nice. And so I've got my original snowflake that I've die cut to put on top. And I've also done the same 2 layers of clear embossing powder on the sentiment that was cut using a Neat and Tangled Happy Holidays die. And then I'm using the very center tiny little snowflake to finish off that middle. And then I will apply my die cut sentiments using Tombow Monty Multi Glue. And I like that glue in particular because if you apply it while it's wet and then you adhere it, it's a permanent glue. If you apply it and then let it dry before you stick it to anything, it's repositionable. So that's why that is a staple in my craft room. And then because I always lose the dots to my eyes on my die cuts, I think I used a black sequin to replace the eye on this, just for a little bit of fun. And then I used some other gold sequins to finish off just for a little pizzazz, because it is a holiday card. It's a non-traditional colors holiday cards, and that's kind of what I like about it. It is seriously fun. So here's all 4 that we've done. So you can see that there's a lot of fun, a lot of sparkle, a lot of holiday pizzazz and holiday excitement to them, but they're non-traditional colors. So I think that's why I like this set so much. They're so pretty. I can't get enough. And I love the little foil accents on there too. So thanks for joining me. Thank you for your time. I know it's a little bit of a longer video, but we do get 2 projects out of it, technically 4. So the next person in the hop will be in the description box, so link for them. And I appreciate your time, and let me know what you think of these cards. If you have any questions, let me know that too, and do my best to help. And we will catch you on the next one. Merry early Christmas, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.